What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at one of the rarest BC Rich guitars that has ever been made. We're talking like in terms of shapes here. This is a shape that never shows up. This particular guitar I've had for a very long time. It was kind of like my first extremely nice guitar that I've ever owned and everything like that. And little did I know that this thing was an anomaly, and this thing is extremely rare. So with all that being said, this is my BC Rich NJ Neck Through Series Zombie. Here we go. So I've had this guitar for a very long time, and I want to say maybe around 2007. And I remember seeing this in one of my local music stores back in my hometown and always being drawn to it and seeing this as kind of like this weird, outlandish guitar. And even though I knew what BC Rich was all about, this guitar was a little bit different because it was much more nicer looking, with, the nice paint job, the quilt maple veneer up top here, and, obviously it being a neck through, and just looking at all of these different features on this guitar, and again, we'll get to the specs later, this guitar really seemed like it was a premium instrument, and it is. At the time, this was kind of like the highest end import spec BC Rich you could buy. And even all these years later, this guitar doesn't get old, and this shape just honestly doesn't get old. I remember just being drawn to this because it was so different from the Warlocks and all the other different shapes that BC Rich were offering at the time. And little did I know that this thing was extremely rare. And I'm talking like this guitar was maybe made for 1 or 2 years, like this particular NJ Neck Through Zombie, maybe 1 or 2 years. I know the Zombie has been made in a couple other series. I've only seen this literal one in my entire life. I've seen maybe a recent reverb listing for another one like this, and otherwise, that's it. I've never seen another BC Rich Zombie in my life outside of Googling images of them. And even doing a deep dive on the BC Rich catalog archives online, it really seemed like this one only appeared in like the 05 or maybe 06 product catalog, and otherwise nothing from there on it. So if you are a BC Rich aficionado and you know exactly like the production dates for this particular guitar here, let us know in the comments below, because as far as I know, this was like a 1, maybe 2 year model at the most part. This guitar honestly just stuck with me for such a long time. I used it to write, some of my first riffs that would show up as like some of my band's first songs and things like that. I would played my actual first couple shows with this. Middle school talent shows, recorded a lot of music with this, joined a death metal band, and obviously this was the guitar for it. And all these years later, I still love this thing. And despite how rare this thing is, this is in true BC Rich fashion, being the most pointy thing you could ever see and the most, depending on your taste, god-awful thing you could ever see. I know I love it, but this checks out for being like your traditional BC Rich. It's insane, it's very metal, and it's very unapologetic for as beautiful as it kind of looks for maybe some of us. So what we're going to do is give this guitar a little bit of TLC. It has been sitting for a little bit of time, so I'm going to get this thing all dialed in, new strings, clean it up, bring it back to life, and then we're going to hear this thing. So let's get this guitar on the bench and get it all dialed in. And here are some close-ups of this BC Rich Zombie, and for being a BC Rich, for as pointy as it is, there's no damage on this thing. I'd always keep my guitars in the best shape as possible. I guess that kind of excludes a little bit of the hardware here. A ton of pitting on the tremolo arms, just kind of is what it is. Aftermarket pickups here, and as you can see, this guitar has been played a lot, and especially these aftermarket pickup mounting screws, all rusted and everything like that. Whatever, we roll. And fretboard, it looks like it's in good shape. It'll probably need a hydration. A lot of these contact points have a good amount of rust on them, so we're gonna clean that up. We're gonna take this whole bridge apart, we're gonna clean it. I have a deep dive video of doing all of that, so if you want to see all that in more detail, that's gonna be linked right above, so you can check that out. Same deal goes with setting up your Floyd Rose bridge. I got another video on how to do that. And obviously we're gonna change the strings. We're gonna use the String Source Topaz 10-48 set, and as always, even though they are a channel sponsor, they are a product I fully stand behind. If you want to get yourself a pack of these String Source guitar strings, there's going to be a discount code down below, and for real, these are legit the best strings I've played. And to be totally honest, my guitars have been feeling and playing and sounding so much better after using String Source guitar strings, because these string gauges are actually calculated properly for the right tunings that you're going to use. This should be pretty straightforward, but if there are any parts that are standing out, I will definitely pause and show you all in detail of what we're doing. All right, and here is the BC Rich NJ neck through zombie all done up. Look at how low the action is if my camera is going to focus. That is hilariously low. And there's a tiny bit of buzz, but it's not going to come through on the amp. Just how I like to have it on all of my guitars here. Just making them the easiest that they can play. Even though there was a good amount of rust on the guitar, like all that 3-in-1 oil just into the spots that I've shown you throughout this video and through some of the other videos that I've linked. Basically all those parts are going to be working and they're not going to be seized up. And if they are seized, that 3-in-1 oil is really going to help out. And you can get that using the link down below. Same with all of the other tools that I've been using in my videos, such as the fretboard oil and all of those other tools from Music Nomad as well, as they really do make the job in restoring these guitars much easier and much more enjoyable. All right, so now let's get to some specs and features on this NJ Series BC Rich Zombie. As you can see here, we have the zombie shape, which is, again, my favorite shape for some obvious reasons and a bit of an anomaly itself. This guitar here is made out of NATO. This is a version of mahogany, probably just to save a little bit of money on the import series of guitars. We then have a 5-piece maple neck through. We got like these two, probably like walnut or just whatever kind of stringers on the middle here, but otherwise it is a full-on maple neck through. Upper access heel is super deadly, as you'd expect on these monstrous BC Rich guitars. Moving up to the top here, we have this quilt maple veneer up here, finished in this see-through red finish, as well as the entire guitar being finished in see-through red. We then have a licensed by Floyd Rose double locking bridge down here. It's fine. I haven't really had any tuning issues on it. Outside of the normal hardware rust that has been happening on this bridge so far, this bridge has been pretty good. Maybe I'll upgrade it in the future. Very simple electronic layout, 2 volumes right here, tone knob, and we have a 3-way toggle selector, no push-pull or anything like that. The pickups have been changed to something a bit more substantial than the stock BC Rich pickups that all of these NJ Series guitars came with. I have a DiMarzio X2N in the bridge and a DiMarzio Evo in the neck. Yes, we have 2 bridge pickups in the guitar, 1 in the neck. I wonder where that idea came from. Moving back up to the neck here, we have a 25.5-inch scale length on this guitar, ebony fingerboard, which is a very nice cut of ebony, especially for this time. Looks really great when you hydrate it as well. 24 nickel frets here. I think these are medium frets. They don't feel like jumbos. And this guitar could probably use a refret at some point, but whatever, it works for now. It's totally fine. You got the big old diamond inlays. Mother of pearl, looks super sick. Locking nut up top, it's fine, does the job. BC Rich logo, we have the matching quilt maple veneer up top with the matching painted headstock. Black hardware, unbranded BC Rich tuners, and that is more or less it. This guitar is sick. I mean, look at the headstock too. Just a beast of a guitar. Let's plug it in. Let's hear how this thing sounds. Getting back to an earlier point, like this was like the crown jewel of the music store in my opinion, and obviously liking these crazy metal guitars. Outside of like the dime bag guitars and everything like that, like this was the one. This was the guitar that I would always grab off the music store shelf and just play it and just like, oh, one day I'm gonna get this guitar, you know what I mean? And finally that day came and, you know, we still have it. Now thinking back to when I had that BC Rich Beast from the same NJ series on the channel maybe a little while back this year, and I remember saying that you gotta upgrade the pickups on it, but otherwise like the pickups are fine, maybe if your budget isn't like cut out for that. Once you upgrade the pickups, like this thing is where it's at. And yes, I'm biased from how much I love this guitar already, but just to remind you, like let's look at this upper access cutaway here and how deep it goes. Like there is no obstruction from getting to all the frets here. The neck shape is incredibly comfy on this guitar. It is sort of like a C shape and almost like ESP's thin U shape. It's very, very comfy. Sure, that licensed Floyd Rose is just a licensed Floyd Rose, but I'm sure if you're able to get something like a Goto or a real Floyd Rose, that's gonna make a big difference in terms of tuning stability if you're having that with your guitar. But the main thing that you gotta do, again, with these guitars is just change the pickups, because like, outside of the aesthetic choices, like this thing just screams, and I'm really excited to get to writing with this guitar again. I got a few projects on the go that I think this is gonna fit really nicely in, and yeah, I can't wait to share those all with you at some point. But yeah, definitely if you're looking to get some of these NJ series BC Rich guitars, definitely change the pickups. Otherwise, like from all the NJ series BC Rich guitars I've played, I really haven't found any sort of quality issues. Like these fret edges are really good as well, and even though this guitar has seen a lot of play time as well, like they're still holding up pretty good outside of maybe a few frets seeing some better days. But it's not like some guitars that you're buying brand new now that just have totally shot fret ends, or they have dead frets, or just the quality control in some of these newer guitars has just gone so much down for whatever reason. So if you are thinking about getting one of these older, like mid-2000s Korean NJ BC Rich guitars, definitely do it, change the pickups, and I think you're gonna have a really sick guitar, especially if you want something that looks as menacing as this thing right here. All thoughts and opinions down below, especially if you know something about this guitar and you wanna share some information on the BC Rich Zombie itself. Feel free to drop it down below, because I would love to learn more about it, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people who want to learn more about this. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Tons more videos like this going over some sweet guitars that I fix on or the ones that I own. And if you really like what I do, make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video that I upload. All the applicable links are down below to get some of the tools that I used in today's video as well. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.